Hi everyone, I'm Vino from NIEC ITE. I'm so happy to be here with you today. And thank you for joining me in this reflective session. Here are the segments that I will be going through. In today's session, we are going to explore how coaching can be implemented through small, intentional shifts in our daily conversations and how a simple framework can help guide those moments to make them more meaningful and impactful. Here is the best part. Coaching is not only useful in your role as a leader or mentor. It can also make a difference in your everyday interactions with your colleagues, friends, and even family members because it helps you understand about yourself better and the people around you. To begin, think of a time when someone helped you see a situation more clearly or approach it differently. What did they say or do that made a difference? A small moment like that, when someone helped you gain clarity, is exactly what we will be exploring together today. While you're reflecting on that, let me share a little bit about my personal journey and how my understanding of leadership has evolved over time. When I first started mentoring, I thought the best way to help was to share what had worked for me. I remember mentoring a new team member who was struggling with classroom management. I shared all my go-to strategies and she tried to follow them exactly. But instead of getting better, things got worse. She was so focused on getting it right that she couldn't tune in to her children or trust her own instincts. I started wondering, did I fail her as a mentor? That moment made me pause and rethink my approach. Later on, when I was leading a team, I started encouraging them to reflect on the ideas I shared and adapt them to their own style, not just following my instructions. But even then, something felt missing. I realized I was still doing most of the thinking. They were still looking to me for all the answers instead of finding their own. Everything shifted after I attended a coaching course. From the course, I learned something powerful. The individual has the potential to arrive at their own solutions. They don't need all the answers. They just need the right space, support, and the prompts to get there. Coaching is widely seen as a key leadership skill to build stronger teams and to encourage reflection. I started wondering, how does this apply to early childhood? That's when I began exploring the Leadership Development Framework, in short LDF, which is developed specially to guide and grow leadership in the early childhood sector. I wanted to understand how coaching could align with the skills and competencies highlighted in the framework. And as I looked deeper into it, it all started to come together. The framework highlights core competencies such as communication, decision-making, and inclusivity skills that grow through dialogue, curiosity, and reflection. I began to see how coaching supported the development of each of these competencies in a meaningful and lasting way. As I continued using coaching in my leadership, I also noticed that it helped me embody the ripple attributes. which are embedded within the LDF more intentionally. These attributes shape how we show up and influence others as leaders. Resilience, being in a team, passion for children, professionalism, love for learning, and empathy. When I looked at both the leadership development framework and the ripple attributes, a clearer picture started to form for me. Coaching became the way I displayed the ripple attributes in my everyday leadership. It helped me lead with empathy, stay resilient, keep learning, and truly support my team. As I began infusing coaching into my leadership practice, I noticed a shift in how I showed up for my team. I found myself slowing down, asking more questions, and giving them space to think instead of jumping into fixing things. It wasn't easy at first, but with consistency and patience, I started to see a change. My team began coming to our meetings already reflecting, asking themselves the kind of questions I used to ask. Our conversations became less about fixing problems and more about making thoughtful decisions together. That's when I truly understood leadership isn't about having all the answers. So, here is a question for you. If a colleague told you they were struggling with classroom transitions, what would you do first? A. I usually share what worked for me. B. I usually ask questions to help them think. C. I do both depending on the situation. These responses give us a glimpse into how each of us leads. In leadership, we often move between coaching and mentoring. While coaching and mentoring may look similar on the surface, they support learning and growth in very different ways. Let's look at how the same situation, a teacher struggling with classroom transitions, can sound very different depending on whether you take a coaching or mentoring approach. Let's imagine a teacher, Teacher Sue. She's finding classroom transition really tricky. The children are not listening to her instructions. So Teacher Sue went, "My children are not listening to instructions during transitions. I'm not sure what to do." Now, another teacher, let's call her Teacher Amy, notices this. How might she respond? Let's look at mentoring first. Wearing a mentoring hat, Amy might say something like, "I have faced that before too. Transition songs really help me. You could try them and see if they work for your children." This is mentoring, drawing from your personal experience and offering practical strategies to guide someone who may need clear direction. For the same situation, example, Teacher Sue says, "My children are not listening to instructions during transitions. I'm not sure what to do." If Teacher Amy puts on a coaching hat, her response might sound a little different. She might ask questions like, What have you already tried to manage those transitions? The focus immediately shifts to teacher Sue's experience and not Amy's. It draws out Sue's efforts first. Teacher Sue explains, I have been telling them they have few minutes left, but it doesn't seem to help. And then Teacher Amy might ask another open-ended question. What might help them recognize the transition more clearly? This encourages Teacher Sue to brainstorm her ideas and will lead to Teacher Sue generating possibilities. And she may go, maybe a visual or a sound cue? Something more concrete than just my voice. And then Amy might follow up with an acknowledgement and be more action-oriented. And she may say, that sounds like a great direction. What is one small thing you could try implementing tomorrow? Teacher Sue may say, perhaps I could use a chime and a picture card to show it's cleanup time. Teacher Sue may leave the conversation feeling more empowered with the clear steps to follow up. As you can see in this approach, through simple open-ended questions, the coach gains clarity and takes ownership of the next step. And this is the heart of a coaching conversation. You have heard me reflect on how my leadership has evolved, and you might be wondering, are there small steps or strategies I can use to get started? Absolutely. This is where reflection turns into action. You don't need a formal coaching title or even a course to make a difference. All it takes is a shift in how you respond. This is what we call small C coaching. It's about showing up with just 3 things: asking thoughtful questions, listening with full attention, staying open-minded and curious. You can do this anywhere. The conversations during lesson planning, curriculum meetings, team check-ins, or even a casual chat over lunch. Asking something as simple as, what's one thing that went well today? That small question invites reflection and shifts the focus from fixing problems to supporting thinking. Think about your last check-in with a colleague. Did you ask more questions or give more advice? Now, let's reflect on the kind of questions we ask. Not all questions move people forward. Why questions often pull them into the past? They can feel like they need to explain or justify. How questions tend to focus on the processes or reasons which can be useful. But what questions are the game changers? They open up thinking, they invite ownership, they shift the focus from explanation to reflection. And that's where growth begins. So, here is a prompt for you. What is one what question you could ask someone after this webinar? The question can be as simple as, what are you noticing? This is your first step in bringing small C coaching into everyday practice. Let's take it in a step further. When we bring asking questions, listening, reflecting, encouraging all together, they become more than just actions. They form a simple yet powerful structure that can guide meaningful coaching conversations. And this is where the CARE framework comes in. If small C coaching is a mindset, CARE is the structure that brings it to life. Here is what CARE stands for and how we can apply it in action. Let's go back to the earlier example of the teacher struggling with classroom transitions. That's where the first part of CARE comes in. Curiosity. It's about coming into conversation genuinely wanting to understand the other person's viewpoint. Asking open-ended questions that spark deeper thinking. Like in Teacher Sue's example, asking, "What have you noticed during transitions?" To hear her experience first. The next step is active listening. This means giving your full attention and hearing what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally, without interrupting or jumping in to provide solutions. And then asking reflective questions. This is where those powerful what questions really shine. For example, in the same scenario, you might ask, "What do you currently do to signal transitions?" And what do you think the children notice or understand from those signals? And finally, encouragement. Giving genuine affirmation by noticing strengths and efforts. This creates a safe and supportive space where people feel valued, heard, and motivated to keep growing. Can you see how a simple shift using CARE can turn everyday conversation into opportunities for growth? Because when educators are supported to think, they begin creating strategies that help for their classroom, their children, and their staff. Asking thoughtful questions, listening deeply, and encouraging sounds great in theory, right? But in early childhood, we know the reality. It's busy, unpredictable, and we are juggling 100 things at once. Even with the best intentions, coaching can feel challenging. Here are some solutions you can try when coaching feels tough. Let's start with one that probably sounds very familiar. I don't have time. You are in the middle of 10 things and someone asks, "Can I run something by you?" You are thinking, "I would love to help, but I don't have time and space for a coaching conversation right now." The thing is, coaching doesn't need to be formal. It can happen in those little pockets of the day. Even a quick, thoughtful questions like, "What went well today?" during a corridor chat can spark real reflection. Another challenge we may encounter is wanting to coach, but not knowing how we can even start. To begin, start small. You don't need a perfect script. Just a few go-to questions like, "What have you already tried?" "What is one thing you would do differently?" Start with curiosity. You just need the right question to open the conversation. Another common challenge may be thinking that your team just wants your advice as the leader. Yes, sometimes people come to us expecting quick answers. And it's easy to slip into let me fix it for you mode. But here is something that worked for me. I simply ask, would you like some ideas, or would you like to have some space to think this through together? It respects their needs, and it also helps you to decide whether to choose mentoring, coaching, or a combination of both. Sometimes we guide, sometimes we listen, and both are okay. It's about knowing what is helpful in the moment. Today, we have explored how coaching can transform leadership. Here are a few key strategies to take with you. Incorporate small C coaching in everyday conversations. Use the CARE framework to encourage reflection and affirmation. Choose the approach that best suits the situation: coaching, mentor, or blended. Every small action is like dropping a pebble into water. A single question, a pause to listen, a spark of reflection, it all creates ripples that grow over time. Those ripples move outward into your team, your center, and even the children you work with. Before we go, what's one takeaway you will implement? Maybe it's a phrase, a strategy, or a mindset shift. Please write it down. Let that be your first ripple this week. Every leader's journey is different, but the impact begins the same way with one intentional step. Thank you for joining me today in exploring coaching for effective leadership. I hope this session has sparked something meaningful for you, and I can't wait to see how your ripple of coaching begins to grow. Wishing you a journey filled with thoughtful questions, powerful conversations, and real impact.